Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are not a subscriber, thank you for coming back. If you're a new subscriber, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Vinti, and on this channel I talk about Canada and Canada immigration, my journey as a new immigrant in Canada, all my life experiences, and I share with you the experiences of my friends too, and everything about Canada and immigration to Canada. So if that's something you would be interested in, please don't forget to like and share, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell, because I go into details when I am giving you this information. And also you get to follow my life and my growth in journey as in Canada as a new immigrant here. Without wasting much of your time, in this video I'm going to be talking about the pathways to come to Canada. I know a lot of us wants to come to Canada, but sometimes it could be overwhelming, and sometimes you may not even know how to go about it. Sometimes you have the money, or it's not like you don't have the money, but you don't know how to go about it. You don't know what to do, the steps, or the right pathway for you. So I'm going to be giving you 12 different pathways. There are a lot of pathways, 12. I'm going to be giving you 12, but we are going to, just for the sake of this video, we are going to be focusing on the 6 that I think they are really very important. So we're going to be listing out the 12 pathways now, and then we are going to talk about the 6 pathways that I've chosen for this particular video. Number 1 is the express entry. Of course, a lot of us know about the express entry. We've heard about the express entry, and under the express entry we have the Federal Skilled Worker Program, we have the Federal Skilled Trades Program, and we have the Canadian Experience Class. So we're going to go into more details about that a little bit later. The second one is the PNP, or the Provincial Nominee Program. That is number 2. Number 3 is family sponsorship. Number 4 is study permits. That is also another way to migrate to Canada. Number 5 is postgraduate work permits. That's attached to the study permit anyways. The other one is temporary foreign worker program. We have the Atlantic Immigration Program, the Rural and Northern Immigration Program. There is another one called the Startup Visa Program. There is the Self-Employed Persons Program, Caregiver Program, and then the Asylum and Refugee Programs. They are very overwhelming. The 12 of them is very overwhelming, but don't worry, we are going to go into details about the 6 we are going to be talking about in this video. So the 6 pathways we are going to be talking about in this video is the express entry. We are going to be talking about the Provincial Nominee Program. We are going to be talking about family sponsorship, study permits, temporary foreign worker program, and the Asylum and Refugee Program. So this 6 we're going to go a little bit into more details about this, and if you have any questions on any of this, please don't forget to leave it in the comment section, and I'm going to try and answer or make a video to explain even more. Now we're going to be talking about the processes of this 6, the eligibility criteria, and the requirements. So we're going to be talking about these 3 things for each one of them. So let's start with the express entry program. I know a lot of us have heard about the express entry program. Yeah, some people know, some people don't know. It is commonly known as the permanent residency. That's why you hear some people tell you, I got permanent residency. Yes, this part is the express entry program, and that's how you get a permanent residency in Canada. The express entry is a point-based system, and the higher your points, the more your chances, the more you will get an invitation to apply for permanent residency. So you want to make sure you gather as much points as you can. So I'm going to be listing out some of the criteria and the things you can do to gather more points for your express entry profile. Before you apply for express entry, you have to find out what category you fall under. So there are 3 categories, so you have to check your eligibility for these ones. The number 1 is Federal Skilled Worker Program. So you have to see if you fall under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then you have to apply under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Second one is Federal Skilled Trades Program. This is for tradespeople, artisans, what we call artisans, like carpenters and the rest. So you can also apply under the Federal Skilled Trades Program. And the third one is the Canadian Experience Class. This is for people that are already in Canada and you've worked in Canada for a certain number of time, or a certain for a year or so, and then you can apply for permanent residency under the Canadian Experience Class. Now, when you've decided which of these categories you fall under, then you need to go ahead and create a profile. When creating a profile for your express entry, there are factors that come into play. Things like your work experience, things like your age, because younger people get even more points than older people. The older you get, the lesser points you will get. Your marital status, language proficiency. You have to get a language proficiency test done. So that could be English and or French. Why I said and or French, you could just use only the English, but if you have French, if you know how to speak French and you write a French test and you pass your French test, that boosts your points. Like your point is going to shoot up a lot. So if you know how to speak French and you can write the French exam or French test, please, while you're writing your IELTS, make sure you write a French test too, and that will help your points come up a lot. You also need to get your certificates in Nigeria or wherever country you're watching from. You have to get them evaluated. I think in Nigeria we have the West, so you have to do that and get your certificates evaluated. Also, if you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, or if you have a PhD, those things also add or take away from your points, so you have to bear that in mind too. So once your profile is set up, you'll be awarded a score based on the CRS system. So when you're done creating your profile, you now have to wait, and when they do a draw, I think it happens about every 2 weeks, you might, if your score is up to the cutoff, then you will receive an invitation to apply for permanent residencies. Then you receive an invitation to apply for permanent residency, and then you can go ahead and apply for your permanent residency. So when you receive the invitation to apply, that's the ITA, you have about 60 days to complete your application and submit your application. And this is when you will need to provide things like your medical report, your police clearance, and things like that, okay? So you have 60 days, you have to do that really quickly and get that done. So at this point that you also need to provide your proof of funds. Everything about traveling is proof of funds. So while you are waiting, and make sure you gather your funds together and make sure your proof of funds is ready. So when you've submitted your application, unfortunately, there is nothing much you can do, only to wait. And when you are approved, you receive a confirmation of permanent residency, and then you become a permanent resident of Canada and you'll be on your way to Canada. And that is it for express entry. So now let's go to number 2. Before we go to number 2, some of the eligibility criteria, I've mentioned it before, but I want to say it again. Eligibility criteria for express entry is your skilled work experience, language proficiency, educational credentials recognized by Canada, and the financial proof of funds. So you have to have those things. Now, number 2 is the PNP, the Provincial Nominee Program. This is for people that want to live and work in a particular province. Let's say, for instance, you want to live and work in Alberta, then you have to apply to the province of Alberta. Every province have their own needs. Sometimes they might feel they need more caregivers, and they might feel they need more people in agriculture, people in trades or something like that. So that is where the provincial nominee plays a part. Number 1 step of PNP application is to choose the province you want to go to. So if, let's say, you want to go to Ontario, or you want to go to Alberta, or wherever you want to go, so that's the first step. You have to decide and you have to choose the province you want to go to. Then you have to meet the province eligibility criteria. Some of them might require you to have a job offer, some might not require you to have a job offer from that province. All they need is for you to, if you qualify for the particular skill they are looking for, then you'll be invited. So when you've checked your eligibility criteria and you qualify, go ahead and submit your application, and if they feel like you are what they are looking for, then they will nominate you. The next step is to apply for permanent residency. So once you are nominated, you get even more points to help boost your CRS score, and then you can go ahead and apply to the federal government, and then you will receive an invitation to apply. When you receive the invitation, then go ahead and submit all your paper and your documents, and you'll be on your way to permanent residency in Canada. Now, the timeline for this, according to my research, takes typically 12 to 18 months. Yeah, I know sometimes we think like, oh, that's a very long time, but if you look at it, it's not really very long, because before you know it, 12 to 18 months will pass you by. So why not, put in something and then wait for 12 to 18 months? It could be less, it could be more, you don't know, but why not just do it? Now we're going to talk about family sponsorship. If you have your family here, Now, by family, I don't mean extended family, uncles and aunties, even siblings. Sometimes they are very difficult to bring siblings, to sponsor your siblings. But if you have like your spouse and sometimes parents, they are very they're allowed to come in on family sponsorship visa. Similar to the other ones, the first step is that you have to check your eligibility criteria, because the person sponsoring you has to be at least 18 years to sponsor you, and they also have to be financially capable of taking care of you for about 3 to 20 years, depending on their relationship to you. So you have to bear that in mind. And they also have to be a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada. So a visitor cannot sponsor you. Somebody that is just here cannot sponsor. They have to be a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada. Now they have to go ahead and submit the application, the sponsorship application, while providing their proof of income. They'll provide proof of relationship to you as well. So you cannot just go and claim, oh, this is my brother, this is my father, this is my mother. There has to be proof of relationship. And they also have to provide their ID, proof of identification or means of identification. Then when your sponsor submits all those things, then you as the person being sponsored, you have to also create an express entry profile. Okay, you have to provide that and provide details of your sponsor, and it's very similar to the other express entry steps. It's just that you have somebody there, and that even adds even more points to your CRS score. This process takes about 12 months. It could take a little bit longer. This thing, sometimes you can't say exactly, oh, in the next 1 year, in the next year, in the next 6 months. Sometimes you have to give space for delays, and sometimes it could take even longer than you expect. You'll be like, what is going on? But yeah, just do your application and go ahead with your life, and just pray and hope for the best. The eligibility criteria for family sponsorship is that the person must be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. Then they must be related to you. They must be either your spouse, your partner, common law, or your parents or grandparents. Siblings are really very hard, so yeah, that is one of the criteria. And they must be financially able to provide for you for those years, for 3 to 20 years, according to my research. So yeah, they have to be financially responsible for you. The next one is the study permit pathway. So a lot of people know about this. This can be very expensive, like really even now, even more expensive as at 2024. So, but it's one of the pathways that people come to Canada to. The first step for this pathway is to get an admission into a Canadian university, like a qualified, because now there's been a lot of changes. So you cannot just do like all those 1-year college programs. They don't qualify anymore, unfortunately. So you have to get accepted into an institution or a qualified program, or if you're doing your master's, that's even better. So that is number one criteria for study permit. You have to get an admission to an accepted institution and one of the accepted programs. So when you get accepted, you have the letter of acceptance of your designated learning institution, and then you can use that to apply for your study permit. So go ahead and apply for your study permit online. You will need the letter of acceptance. You need your proof of funds, police clearance, medical report, and things like that. So you need to gather all those documents for you to apply for study permit. Also, I wanted to add this too. You also have to make sure you have ties back home. Like, they need to see that when you're done studying or whatever you're doing there, you also come back home. You're not using it as a means to jackpot, but you are going there to study because you're supposed to be studying. So when you receive your study permit, then you can move to Canada to study. If you applied for a 1-year program, you have a permit to study for 1 year and 2 years or 3 years or whatever the length of your program is. Then after your study, you receive the postgraduate work permit. Now this depends on how long your program was. So if you did like a 1-year program, you'll get a 1-year postgraduate work permit. And I don't know if that would be enough to actually gather enough hours to apply for permanent residency under the Canadian Experience class. So you might want to consider doing 2 years or more to just to be on the safer side. After your study, you'll have up to about 90 days to either extend or to leave the country. and then from there, when you get your work permit and you work, then you'll be on your way to apply for express entry through the Canadian experience class, because then you must have worked in Canada, you have that work experience in Canada, then you apply for your permanent residency under the Canadian experience class. The timeline for study permit takes about 4 to 8 weeks. So yeah, it is relatively fast, but it's, like I said, it's one of the most expensive. And the timeline to get your postgraduate work permit could be about 3 to 6 months. So that is why you need to do even more. It's best to do even more years, let's say 2-year program or 3 years program, just to be on the safer side. Eligibility criteria is acceptance letter from a designated learning institution. It cannot be just any school. It has to be one that is approved. They're called the DLI, designated learning institutions. You have to have enough proof of funds for your school fees, and you also need to have enough to support you. So you have to also check the cost of living in the province you're going to, because that also determines how much you're going to need to have for proof of funds. Proof of funds now, it's so expensive. That's why a lot of people are not really taking the study route anymore. Some people are, if you have money, it's a really good route, but it can be very, like I said, very expensive. And then you also have to have a clean police report and your medical report. The next one is the temporary foreign worker program. This one is a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try my best to explain it in a way that everybody will understand it. Now, this is for people that have a valid job offer from a Canadian employer, but you don't meet up with the requirements for express entry. I don't know if that makes sense. So you must have a job offer, somebody here, and not everybody can give you that job offer, because there are people that can and cannot give you the job offer. So you have to have a valid job offer from somebody, an employer in Canada, and then with that you can apply for your visa as a temporary foreign worker. Now, that employer will have to give you something called LMIA. I know a lot of us have heard about LMIA, and unfortunately, a lot of these agents, they scam a lot of people with this LMIA thing, and then you end up paying, thinking they will give you LMIA. LMIA don't come very easy. Your employer has to give you the LMIA, and what that LMIA is, it shows that nobody in Canada is willing to take that job. That's why they are trying to give it to a foreign worker, okay? So they cannot just give you LMIA. Also, LMIA, they don't get it very easily like that. I think there is the employer, they don't just go and get LMIA to, get a foreign worker. There are steps and processes they have to go through. They have to show that, they have to actually prove that this job, we listed it, or we left it for a certain number of months, and nobody was able to we weren't able to fill in the job with anybody from Canada. So you also have to know that LMIA doesn't come by very easily. Also, there are some people that may tell you, will sell you LMIA. I don't know. I just don't even want to talk about that, because just do your research and be careful. So the steps for temporary foreign worker program is to, number one, get the job offer from the employer, and they'll give you, it comes with the LMIA. Then you will apply for your work permit. When you receive your work permit, then you can move to Canada and work. Sometimes this LMIA lasts for, they span for 1 to 2 years. So when you work for those number of years, then you can go apply for permanent residency or the express entry under the Canadian experience class, okay? Because of course you've worked in Canada and you have the work experience from Canada. Also, when you have the work permit and you work, you can also apply for the PNP, Provincial Nominee Program, because then the province will know that you have ties to the province, you've worked in this province, so they are likely going to nominate you for the Provincial Nominee Program, and that is going to help you apply for permanent residency. The eligibility criteria, like we said before, is job offer. You have to have a police report and medical report, just the necessary, all the things you need for the other ones, and in most cases the LMIA. Please don't let anybody, just whatever job offer you get and they tell you don't need an LMIA, please make sure you do your research and find out if you really need an LMIA for that particular job or you don't. The next one is the refugee or asylum program. So this is for people that feel like their life is in danger or their life is threatened from wherever they are coming from. Let's say your country is at war, or you're being persecuted in your country or wherever you're coming from. So you can apply for asylum or refugee in Canada. Canada, they're always very welcoming to people that are actually in need of the refugee protection. To apply for refugee in Canada, you have to find a way into Canada. You have to either by if you are entering through the airport or through a land border, then you can file for asylum or for refugee protection at those port of entries. So it could be at the airport or at any land border. Also, if you are already inside Canada, then you can apply online for refugee protection as well. But if you're outside Canada, it's a little bit tricky because you have to apply through a resettlement program, and it's usually with the help of the United Nations Refugee Agency or a private sponsorship group. So that one is a little bit tricky. I don't know a lot about it, but yeah, that is one of the ways you can apply from outside Canada. Now you also have to check your eligibility. So I'm going to read out what I have here so that you can, I don't want to miss anything. Canadian authorities will review your claim to ensure you meet the criteria for refugee protection. To be eligible, you must prove that you are fleeing persecution due to your race, religion, political opinion, nationality, or because you belong to a specific social group such as women or LGBTQ. So these are some of the people that qualify for refugee protection in Canada. And then when you apply, you wait for the IRB to get back to you, and then there'll be a hearing, and then they will hear your case. That's where the judge, I don't think they are called judge, I think they are called members, I don't know. So they will determine if you are actually in danger or not. So you have to be able to prove that you're actually in danger. You have to be able to prove to them that you cannot return to your country of origin. Then when the IRB approves your claim, then you can go ahead and file for permanent residency and your travel documents and the other things you might need to settle in Canada. Now for refugee claims, there are claims that take less than 1 year. There are 1 year, 2 years, and some people that stay here for so many years and they've not even heard their claim, because there are a lot of refugee cases. So when you come, the important thing is to file your claim and then wait, because once you file your claim, you have your work permit. You'll be able to work and live in Canada until you have a date for your hearing. Then after your hearing, it will be determined if it was positive or negative, and then a decision will be taken based on the outcome of your hearing. So the eligibility criteria, like I said, is those things I read out for you. You have to show that you are actually being persecuted, or you're in danger, or you're fleeing from something from your country. And that's a wrap, guys. I hope I was able to do this justice. So whether you're coming to Canada with the express entry option, family sponsorship, federal skilled worker program, asylum program, and I've forgotten study permit, whatever it is, there is always an option for everybody. And if you feel these 6 options don't apply to you, you can always check out the other 6 options that I left out, but I listed them at the beginning of this video. So thank you so much for joining me in this video. If you love this video and you got value from this video, I would love to see you next time, and I would really love if you give me a thumbs up so that YouTube can push this video out to other people. And I would really love if you share with your friends and subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Don't forget to leave me a comment if you think there is anything we did not cover or something you would like me to cover, and don't forget to leave me a comment generally about anything at all. So I'll see you guys in another video. Do have a wonderful day, and be careful in your visa application, because there's a lot of scam going on out there. So don't let anybody scam you, because it can be honestly very frustrating, and it might even make you give up. So don't give up on your journey, and I wish you the best. Bye.